Good afternoon, this is Dwayne. We're at the end of today's radio program. Today is Monday, the 8th day of April, 2013. It's 11:23 a.m. Pacific time. We're looking at the Russell. Zeus just found this setup and we went right to it. We've got bullish divergence. The cycle is up at the top. The green line is down at the bottom. They've diverged. We had a bullish cross. Price pulled away from the BBC. Price is pulling back to the BBC. It draws a little trend line here. Roughly. And Zeus says the ES is setting up as well. Which one looks better, Zeus? I can only bring up one at a time. Well, I could bring up the ES over here. Let me pop this one over. Oh, I don't have all the stuff loaded. Oh, maybe I got the stuff loaded on this one. ESM3. You think the ES is looking better? Okay. Now, I don't have my slingshot set up properly, so if we trade this one, you'll really have to guide me through it. Alright, so we got the ES. We got the Russell. Now all we need is a close above this trend line, and we're good to go with that Russell. Correct? Is that right, Zeus? This is the test, or do we need to touch the BBC? Alright, I'm going to go over here to the ES. Alright guys, we've got bullish divergence. Now my slingshot's not what you normally see, but it's got the same indicators. They just aren't on the same playing field there. Got the bullish cross, we got the pull away. We didn't get the full pullback. Now you know I prefer the full pullback, but I'm not against taking a momentum trade. Let's go back and look at the Russell. Did that close above the trend line? No, it closed right at the trend line on my chart. Let me go back to the ES. Okay, the low on the ES here is 1552. So it's going to be 53 and a quarter. I'm just going to buy that on a stop. Okay, 53 and a quarter, I'll buy it on a stop. Let's go back and look at the Russell. Okay, Russell, I need an up close here. Now, the low so far on this Russell is 924. $924. $924.50. Buy that on a stop. Okay, let's see what happens. We'll watch these. We'll monitor these, and then I gotta run. But there's a couple trades. We'll take them if we get them. Okay, so we know what we need to do here. We need an up close on the Russell, and on the ES we need an up close. And if I put these two together like this, that would make it easier. I guess it won't drag because I've got the DOM open. Normally you can drag these tabs and just rearrange them. Okay, so we're looking to get triggered in. Hey, what happened on the Russell? Something. Oh yeah. Okay, this is where we get triggered in on the Russell, way up here at 924.50. Is that right? Let's see. The low of this candle is 923.80 plus 4 would be 2030. No, that's not right. Our trigger would be right there. Okay. All right, let's go back, check in on the ES. ES, we should be just about ready to trigger on that thing. The low is 52, the high be 53. We want to get ticked in at 53.25. Now we are going up against the swing high and the high of the day. I lost the chat box. Let me get the chat box out of here. There we go. Okay, so far not getting that up close on the ES, but the ES, it channels back and forth so much. Not unexpected to see this action. Okay, we're getting close, it looks like, on our Russell. Getting close on our ES. Fairly close. Could get ticked into both of them simultaneously if the market starts to run. Okay, we just got ticked in on the Russell. Long 924.30. Oh, where's my bracket? Apparently my bracket got turned off on the Russell. So 30, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so we got a buy stop down here. This is to protect us on the downside. We entered at 924.30. 8 ticks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're risking eight ticks on the trade. So we get stopped out at 923.50 if the trade goes in the other direction. On the ES, we have still not entered that trade as of yet. Still waiting for an up close here above this trend line. The top of this candle should be, if we continue up, the top of the candle will be 53. We'll get triggered in at 53.25, just shy of the high of the day. Russell trade, we're down 2 ticks so far. As you can see on the ES, I have a target out there at 55.25. 2-point bracket. Once we're triggered in, we're not triggered into the ES trade yet. Okay, this trade has not triggered. The Russell has triggered. I've got a hard stop. I don't have a target out there on the Russell because sometimes a Russell can run, and so we'll get a sell stop out there because we're going along. We'll get a sell stop out here. Oh wait, here's my no. Yes, Jim, these are 4-tick range bars. Yeah, that should have been a sell on the Russell. You're right. So on the Russell, I mean, I'm in an order, but I'm going to hit cancel all. That's going to cancel all of my outstanding orders. I went long, and I got in at 924.30. So minus 8 will be 923.50. I need a I just took myself out of that trade. See, my tool tips were turned off. All right, I just took us out of the Russell trade by accident at 2 ticks. Let's go back and look at this thing again. I don't know who turned my tooltips off. Okay, the Russell is still moving in our favor. All right, we'll re-enter the thing. And there's my stop right there, the way it should have been all along. That doesn't look like 8 ticks, though. That's 6 ticks. Alright, something weird's going on with this DOM. You know, I think I imported one of Michael's setups, and alright, we don't have any open orders. We never got triggered into the ES. Now we're long 2 contracts on the Russell, which I didn't intend to do at 924.20. All right. See, I don't normally trade the Russell. I'm not the. I take blame. I take the full responsibility because you never get into a trade unless you know that your DOM is set up properly. In fact, I think I talked about that this morning in the live trading room. This is the exact kind of mess you can get yourself into. You always have your brackets and everything set up, so you don't have to worry about it and be concerned. But I pulled out the Russell because it was a trade setting up, and so we put the trade on. It's not that big a deal. We'll be okay. We'll survive. The ES, however, is not getting. We're not getting into this ES trade. It just doesn't seem to want to close up above that trend line. So the ES, we never got triggered. We ended up being long 2 contracts in the Russell. So it says down 7 ticks. That's really 3.5 because we got 2 contracts in. Yeah, I'm just going to have to get out of this trade and go back and fix my DOM. Get everything working properly. This is a good lesson, guys, on what not to do. Oh. Charles says I'm going the right way up, so well, that's good. If this ES would move up, it would probably drag the Russell along with it. And if the Russell could clear, okay, there's our entry with the green dotted line. Right there is the CFMA1, which is at 924.60. We need a close above that. That's the obstacle to our trade right now. The obstacle to our trade is, of course, our entry, our average entry, and then getting up above the MA1, which is basically also this swing high right here. I'll draw a little trend line across there. See how this is just kind of the same area, the swing high, which I'm guessing is the high of the day, which is the CFMA1. So number of obstacles to our trade all in that one area right there. Okay, the ES hasn't given up yet, but it's sure taking it a while to get there. Okay, remember we keep waiting for this up close above the trend line. This video has been running for 13 minutes so far. Show tooltips. There we go. How in the world did I get turned off? I don't know. Okay, our average entry was 24.20. So 8 ticks back would be 923.70. But we're long, so we need to get out on a stop. So if we, let's see, 20 minus 8 be 4. Almost ticked into the ES here. All right. Okay, so the ES just got triggered in. We just went positive on the Russell. I got to get out of that mess here pretty quick. Okay, so the ES we got long at 53 and a quarter. Our target would be 55 and a quarter, and our stop 51 and a quarter. Okay. Okay, currently we're looking at the Russell. It's pressing right up against that little line I drew. We need to close above that. Okay, that little black line there. That's the high of the day, the most recent swing high, and the CFMA1. All three things that are obstacles to our trade, those are things that will create resistance. Now we're looking for the green line to work its way up into the cycle. Let's go peek in on the ES. ES, we got that close above, and now we're just kind of hanging there. And we have the very same dynamic over here. Swing high, high of the day, CFMA1. Okay. Three things coming together there to be an obstacle to this trade. So if you have the luxury of just sitting and watching your charts, you know, I'm just wanted to put on a couple trades at the end of the show for you guys just to let you see it, and you know, didn't necessarily want you to have to see my DOM malfunction because that was my fault. But anyway, when you have the luxury of sitting there in the morning, you know, and it's your whole day ahead of you. You know, and you've gone through your morning routine, you've done your meditation, your prayers, whatever it is, your oolong tea, your coffee, your jamba juice, whatever, you know, you have the luxury of the entire day. You don't have to trade into the high of the day. You don't have to trade into, you know, a couple ticks away from the previous swing high. You can wait until there's a nice deep pullback to the BBC, and then you snap the trend line, and then you got, you know, 8 ticks to run before you encounter any resistance. See the difference? Now, this is still a high probability setup, but not nearly as high a probability setup as if I had allowed it to come all the way back to the BBC, then close above the trend line. Now look, I got 8 ticks to run just to get up to all this junk that I was just talking about. See the difference? When you think about that, because that is taking a high probability trade and then increasing the odds in your favor, stacking the deck. We never did get a stop in over here, did we? It just won't go in. There's something wrong with this DOM. Or did I just take myself out of that order? No, I didn't. You know what? I've messed this thing up so badly, this Russell trade, I'm not even going to mess around anymore. There's enough there to cover the commissions on the 2 trades, 2 ticks. I'm done. My apologies, guys. I'll get my DOM. I'll dissect my DOM and see why it's not, what setting got changed on it. I don't know. So there's a great lesson in what not to do. All right, let's put that away. We'll focus on this one. This is the ES, and again, we're running up against high of the day, swing high, the CFMA1. It's a trifecta of obstacles to our trade getting to our target. And again, just to make sure everybody's clear, on the Russell, we got out with plus 2 ticks. It's enough to cover the commission on the trade. You know, it won't do much for my embarrassment, but I'll get over it. God willing. All right, does anybody have any questions on anything? The ES moves in our favor. If we can get up above this stuff, I'll work to get my stop loss to break even plus a tick. Always like to get that plus a tick so that even if I do get stopped out, when it comes back, at least it pays the commission on the trade. Just like on the Russell, that thing was a mess, but at least we covered, the cost of commission with a couple ticks. Not the way I recommend doing business, but it is what it is. So we need some positive momentum happening here in this ES trade. And the ES, as you know, it loves to channel back and forth, back and forth. Doesn't matter if it's going up or going down, it channels back and forth and back and forth. Jim says the CFMA1 is upsloping, so it shouldn't be resistance. Yeah, unfortunately, Jim, when that thing starts to hook over like this and price runs into it, even though it has the upslope, I understand where you're coming from. Unfortunately, it still acts as a bit of resistance. If we can just get a close on the other side, and we got open sailing up to the next weekly trading zone. Alan asked, what's the hourly view on the ES? Let's go have a look. Hourly. Boom, we just triggered that tweet at 53, it looks like. What did we get up to? We got up to a high of 53.75. So we had sent out another tweet this morning during the radio program, considering being long above 53. So that got triggered. It went 3 ticks positive so far. But we are running up against all of that stuff that I just mentioned that we have over here on our 4-tick range trade. Got to get above that. This is also a time of day. Let's see, it's 11, well, it's almost noon, 11:45, 12:45, 1:40, 2:45. No, most of the traders should be back from lunch now, if you buy into the whole lunch thing. And it is true that people do, have to eat lunch. All right, we'll hang out just a few more minutes, and I've got to run. It's getting late here. Suppose we could apply the come on baby indicator. All right, consider it done. Consider it applied. I'm out of coffee too. If I had coffee, that would help, but I'm out. It's time to switch gears to iced tea anyway, this late in the day. All right, we're going to go up here to, it looks like, test this resistance again. Question is can we break through it? Thank you, Skip. You're welcome. Skip commented that it's valuable for him to be able to see these trades kind of slow down one at a time, from start to finish with the DOM and the whatnot. So I've gotten a bit of positive feedback from a number of you guys, so that's why I'm trying to make a point to hang out each day at the end of the show as time permits and do it. So if you guys want me to keep doing it, just shoot me an email or text or something and just give me some feedback. Feedback's important. All right, we hit the obstacle head on. Question is, can we close above it? Oh, that's looking a little unfriendly right there. That's a tough resistance there. Okay, now you've got to imagine that the green line is down here on this panel, okay, and it's working its way up. We do have a blue cycle. The cycle has gone from blue to red back to blue. The fact that it's gone back to blue, that speaks in favor of the direction of the trade that we're in. The cycle has worked its way almost up to, or the green line has worked its way almost up to the cycle if they were laid on top of each other. This is how they should look, the way they did on the Russell, like this. Okay. That Russell's still kind of stagnated right there. It's having the same issue, pushing through the high of the day. All right, back to the ES. Here we sit. Down 1 tick on the trade so far. We're up a couple ticks and down a tick, and green line in the ES is in the middle. Right there, is this? Okay. It's in the middle. Oh, I see what you're saying. Down here it would be in the middle. Okay, gotcha. So it's still trying to work its way up. We just need some buyers to come in and push this thing a little bit higher. That's all we need. Just a little more. Our entry was 53 1/4. Target 55 1/4. Stop loss 51 1/4. It's a 2-point bracket on either side. We'll never risk more than 8 ticks on a slingshot trade. We will, however, if this thing were to start to really crank with some momentum coming up out of here, you know, along with getting my stop to break even plus a tick, I could grab this and I could start dragging this target up as I simultaneously move my stop up. Okay, locking in some ticks as we go out and look for, in this case it would be really the only thing overhead to look for right now. Let me go look at it hourly. Would be looking left. Oh, these highs back on Friday. What's that? 1557 and a half. Yeah, I would take that if I can get it. 1557 and a half over here would be right here, but would probably go 57. Give a couple ticks of cushion there against that previous swing high. But then our weekly zone is all the way up at 58.59, so I don't doubt that this trade can get there. The question is can it get there in this trade, or does it need a deeper pullback? Does it need a deeper retracement to gather the momentum to get there? Okay. Does it need to come back to the BBC and find that kind of support to propel it higher? Jim says, will you ever re-enter lower at the green CFMA2 after an 8-tick stop out? In other words, if I got stopped out up here and then it came back to the BBC, if everything else lined up, Jim, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem re-entering. I wouldn't have a problem re-entering the trade if all the criteria was met. So, okay, I want you to look at this. That's the swing high. 1, 2, 3, 4 candles now. Four tick range candles. We've tried to break that high. And there's always that question, the more times you push up against resistance or support, does it get stronger or weaker? And some people can argue, there are people who can argue both sides of that eloquently. I don't. I just know that sometimes it finally breaks through and sometimes it doesn't. But there's definitely some pressure setting on this thing at this swing high right here. 53.75. Definitely some pressure right there, holding it back, not allowing it to break through. Now, if this were you and you'd been in this trade for this long and you decided you could, this is a decision. You can write this into your business plan, your trading plan. You know what? After X number of minutes, if I have the opportunity, if the trade is not doing what I expected it to do, I'm willing to scratch out with a 1-tick loss or a 2-tick loss, or whatever the case might be. But that needs to be written into your plan. You need to give yourself that liberty in writing beforehand. You don't make those decisions on the fly. You have to decide, once I accept the risk, that's it, I'm done. Or, after a certain period of time, and for you it might be 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes. A lot of it could, be a factor of your own patience. Or it can be based on you studying the market and deciding, if it hasn't made this 2-point move that I'm looking for, this 8-tick move after a certain amount of time, the probabilities of that happening based on past history is diminished by some percentage. Therefore, I'm going to do this, whatever this is for you. All right, we need a little miracle here because we're about to get stopped out on this trade. Unfortunately, I won't have time to hang around and put on another trade to turn it around like we did on Friday. I'll just have to leave it with this, if that's what happens. And it hasn't happened yet. Remember, we only allow 8 ticks as a stop. That's not in the grand scheme of things, that's not a whole lot of room. But we found that it is sufficient for this time frame trade. Iris says, do you ever go and look at a larger time frame chart? Yeah, Iris, I just went and looked at the hourly chart. Someone had asked about that, what the hourly looked like, and this is what the hourly looks like right here. It's pushing right up against that 53 important number. Okay, we got 3 ticks above 53, and it's pushed us back, and so far we're having difficulty getting back above it. Okay. And so here we sit. Okay guys, I'm going to leave this running, but I'm also simultaneously going to close out the show. Thanks so much for tuning in, whoever you are, wherever you are. May God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell. Alright, I'm down to one headset now, but there'll be some noise as I take one of them off. Okay, so the video is still running. I just ended the radio program. I got rid of one of the headsets, and the radio show is streaming pre-recorded content at the moment. We're no longer live across the radio screen, but the guys in the chat room are still watching this trade unfold live in real time, and I'm going to continue to run the video until we have a disposition. we will either get stopped out at 1551.25, or we'll hit our target at 55.25. We're currently down 1 point or 4 ticks in the trade. Now remember, we had a lot of obstacles in our way here. We had the swing high, we had the high of the day, and then after this thing just banged, boom, 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 and couldn't break through, we had ample opportunity to scratch out of the trade at minus, a tick, minus 2 ticks. We could have got out or broke even. There was even a shot in there to probably get out plus 1 or 2 ticks, but we didn't. So we're just going to sit here and wait. Now if it pulls back to the BBC, the BBC right here is at 51.50. If it pulls back there for support, as I mentioned a moment ago, to make its next rally, we very well could get stopped out in one of those very aggravating to the tick type of stop outs. That happens. You got to live. And so a lot of clever people would go, oh, well then why don't you just drop your stop down a couple ticks? That way, if it does come back to the BBC for support, you don't risk getting stopped out. You'll still be in the trade. Yeah, but what if it keeps falling? Okay, now I've lost 10 ticks on a trade when I've clearly defined the rules as being I never risk more than 8 ticks on a slingshot trade. So as tempting as it might be, and the fact that it might work in your favor once, twice, 3 times, who knows? When you start to violate your rules, you walk away from the office every day with this big question over your head, this big cloud. Did I trade well, or did I get lucky? See, if the answer is I traded well, and by well I mean you followed your rules to the letter, you feel very good about yourself and about the day. If that specter of, oh, I don't know, it feels like I just got lucky, well, that's no good, because will you get lucky tomorrow? There's no guarantees on that, but there is a guarantee that if you train yourself to follow your rules to the letter, then you know that tomorrow you'll put in an equal performance. Okay? You followed your rules on Friday, you followed your rules today, you follow your rules tomorrow. You put enough consecutive days, you string together enough consecutive days following your rules, okay? And then pretty soon it's not even a question anymore. You don't drive yourself crazy about, oh, you just do it because it's the right thing, and it becomes a habit, right? And once it becomes a habit, when doing the right thing becomes a habit, thank God it's difficult to break, as any habit is, Good habits, bad habits, they're tough to break once they're firmly ingrained in us as a habit. It's human nature. Alright, we're back to down, only being down 3 ticks in this trade. You got to hand it to the trade. Man, it sure tried, didn't it? Now, the green line, if it hooks up here at any minute, that breathes a little bit of fresh life into the trade, if you will. I'm not going to get too overly... I'm not going to count my chickens before they break the high of the day. The CFMA1 held that thing in check. 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. Now it may have a chance to do it again if we get that high. But this is kind of a typical thing. See how they're pinching together here? Pinching together. Often you'll see this thing will just keep, jockeying back and forth until these two come together and totally pinch it. And then once that happens, it'll make a run to the upside, or the MA1 will cross down below the BBC, and pretty soon we're looking for short trades instead of long trades. But for now, we still have the green lines down here, the cycle lines at the top, green lines at the bottom, cycles at the top. even though the cycle's gone red, the divergence is still bullish. And we still desperately need a close up above the CFMA1, high of the day, all that. Now the BBC has moved up to 51.68, so 51.50, would be on a test, come back and test 51.50. Our stop, our 8-tick stop, is at 51.25. That's mighty close for comfort. But I'm not going to move the stop. We're very strict about that. 8 ticks, no more. I'm still here, guys. I haven't turned off my mic. There's just not much to say. And I've been in the live trading room for 2 hours. I've been on the radio for almost 3 hours. So I'm kind of just I'm out of things to say at the moment. I really need some iced tea or water or something. This is the thing with the S&P. It channeled. Now, early in the morning, off the open, you get some nice fluid movement. Sometimes heading into the close. But a lot of the time, this is what you get. This channeling back and forth and back and forth. 1 minute it looks like it's going to run for your target, and the next minute it's running for your stop. And if you're going to trade this thing, boy, do you have to learn to get emotionally detached. Big time. I mean, this stopped being a trade 20 minutes ago. It's now an investment. It's an investment of both time and money. The dollar is closing in on the 100 yen mark for the first time since 2009. When I was in Japan in the 70s, seems like it was 100 yen to the dollar back then. But I'm not sure. I know that Japan was riding high in the late 70s when I was there. An American sailor didn't make a lot of money, and if you stepped out those gates onto the Japanese economy, boy, you lasted about, your Navy paycheck lasted all of about an hour. A cold beer was $5. A steak dinner was $50. And a large majority of the people there didn't want us there. We were part of a nuclear task group, the USS Midway, and sometimes when we would want to go on Liberty, there would be protesting and name calling and bottle throwing at the gate, and the Marines wouldn't even let us off the base to go on Liberty. Now, that tended to be like the younger college kids, protest. That was what college kids do. They do protests and stuff. Most of the older folks, the ones who actually lived through Nagasaki, I mean, they tended to be very warm and inviting, and of all the places I was able to spend time when I was in the military, Japan was probably one of the most uncomfortable, and more so for the economics than the other thing. I mean, when you're a sailor and you go out to sea for 90 days, and then you finally come into port and you finally get liberty and you get your paycheck, and then it has no buying power. Not a lot of fun. I know that's not why you're watching this trading video, but and next I'll be showing you home movies. Actually, I have some here somewhere. Oh, do come on. Now, once this thing gets moving, it'll just be over in a flash once it finally gets going. Once it breaks that swing high or that swing low. The swing highs right now are at 53.75 on the upside and 52 on the downside. That's what we're trapped between. One of them will give way, and when one of them gives away, this market will move. It'll move to the next area of support or resistance. That's an idea. Let's throw up some dynamic support and resistance and see what that tells us. Okay, dynamic resistance here. We blew through dynamic resistance here. So we're kind of out in nowhere land. The next thing we would look for to print would be green dots, which would show us dynamic support. Okay, and if we hang out here much longer, see, after red dots, it has to print green dots. So it blew through resistance. Now it's going to seek out dynamic support. And when it finds that dynamic support, that will probably begin the next leg of the journey. That will take it up to the swing high from Friday and ultimately to the weekly trading zone at 58.59. It's my guess. Once it finds its support. And because it's an algorithm running in the background, I can't tell you exactly when it's going to make the decision to print that green dot. When it comes to math, I can't do that kind of heavy lifting. Alright, I tell you what I can do. I can mute the audio so it doesn't sound so bad when I take my headset off. I am going to go get something cold to drink. I'm going to leave the video running. I'm going to leave the charts running. I'm just going to turn the audio down, and then I'll be back in a couple minutes. Okay, so while I was away, this thing ran up to a swing high of 54 and a quarter. We got in at 53 and a quarter. That was our entry. So while I was away, it got all the way up to here, 54 and a quarter. Put in a new high on the day. Had I been here, sitting at my desk, I could have elected to get out with, plus a point, 4 ticks, and said, hey, it wasn't the two I set out for, but it was good enough. But the truth is, I wasn't sitting at my desk. I favored iced tea more than I did this trade, and I got my tea now. So, you know what? We've invested this much time and energy in this thing. Let's just let it play out. Let's let it either go to our stop or go to our target. Now, look at where the the BBC, look where that is now. It's at 52.19. So call it 52, because you got to round down or up, because 52.19 doesn't exist on the DOM. It's either got to be 52 or 52 and a quarter, right? So my point is if price comes back to find support at the BBC, 1552, our stop is down at 51 and a quarter now, because as time has progressed, the BBC has moved higher. So we could get a test of the BBC now. Remember, back here early in the trade, a test of the BBC would result in us being stopped out. But now a simple test of the BBC won't stop us out. And we could still get stopped out, but it won't be, because it just comes and bounces off the green line. So I'm going to take the volume back down again, but I'm going to leave the video running until one of two things happens. Price goes to 55 and a quarter or 51 and a quarter. And although there are very few absolutes in the world of trading, I can absolutely guarantee you that price will do one of two things. It will go to 55 and a quarter, or it will go to 51 and a quarter. No two ways about it. Alright, back again. Get the audio level where it was before. We're now 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 46 seconds into this video. We've gone positive again by a couple ticks. Now some would say, you know, I'm just exhausted by this thing. I'm going to scratch out. 2 ticks, I can hit exit at market and cancel. And I can be done with this thing. I can forget it ever happened and pay for my commission. And that's an option. Okay. Or you can not fret over it and just let it play out, as I said. Because it's going to do one of two things. It's going to go here. It's going to go here. Eventually. New high of the day is 54 and a quarter. So we can draw in another little obstacle to our trade. Right there. 54 and a quarter. Price has got to close above 54 and a quarter now. So far we did not find that dynamic support we were looking for. As I said, it's an algorithm running in the background, so I can't tell you. Sometimes I get like a sixth sense, sort of an idea when it's due, when it's time. But the way this market has ran here, I'm not sure. It could come up here on a shallow pullback, or it may be waiting for some deeper retracement. I do know that volume is part of the algorithm, and as you can see, I don't even have volume showing on my chart. But this guy, it's tracking volume. These dots, they are part of the math. Yeah, I think tomorrow at the end of the radio show, when I say, do you have any markets setting up that you want me to trade, I'm going to say, except the ES. Not that it's a bad market. I mean, it's a really good market at certain times of the day. We're in a lull here. Slow period. Trapped between couple areas. Okay, now once this thing, 4 ticks in our favor. Where did we get in? We got in at 53 and a quarter. See, if we go to 53 and a half to lock in 1 tick right now, that doesn't give us much breathing room. And as you can see, this trade has used up quite a bit of breathing room. So, I mean, that's aggressive risk management, and I favor that in most trades that have momentum, that, in other words, like beans and the yen and a lot of other markets, the Russell, once they get going, man, they go. You got the aggressive risk management on the ES. It's a little different story. Speaking of the Russell, we were in that trade earlier. Look at what happened. Okay, now I don't want to do the what if scenario, but as you remember, we got into the Russell right here at 924 ish, was it? 924, and it's gone up to 925.80. So that's 18 ticks that the Russell has traveled. 18 ticks. We only got 2. No, yeah, we had 2 out of the Russell. This is still the ES. Let's go back to the ES. Russell's still climbing. Maybe the ES will follow it. But see how we got this little swing high, and that became the high of the day, and then The market had to battle it, battle it, battle it, and then it finally broke it. But could it just run? No. It had to pull back. And now it's up. Battling it, battling it, battling it again. Now remember, the entry was 53 and a quarter. All right, we're going to 53 and a half. After all that work, at least we're not going to lose money on the trade. Worst that's going to happen is we're going to come back. It stopped out at 53 and a half, and that one tick, entry 53 and a quarter, our stop loss is above our entry at 53.50. So if it comes back and stops us out, so be it. This one tick will pay for the commission on the trade. All we need is a couple more ticks just above the high of the day. So we got to battle that thing out again. We could have just took the 4 ticks, the 5 ticks right there. You could just take them. When you write your business plan, when you write your trading plan, take all this into consideration. Okay? Because you're going to be faced with these choices day in and day out. So decide ahead of time how you're going to deal with them, and then just deal with them consistently in the same manner day after day after day. So instead of constantly having to make all these decisions, you're just following the plan. And over a large enough sample size, that'll work in your favor. What won't work in your favor is switching it up every time you step up to bat. Man, we came so close to getting our target there. Swing high was 55. We needed one more tick. That's all we needed, one more tick. See, the green has worked its way all the way up. Now we're actually due for a retracement. Go back to 55. Come on. You can do this. Gotta break that 55. Gotta do it. Come on. Come on, baby. There you could snag six ticks here. 7. I'm holding out for 8 just to be obstinate at this point. Because we invested so much time. I just want to see the 8 up there. I might live to regret that, but we'll see. Remember, the swing high from Friday's up at 57, and then above that we've got a weekly zone at 58.59. But as we know, the ES rarely travels in a straight line. It's not going to just run up there, probably. It's going to channel back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on its way up there. Come on. 2 more ticks. 2 more ticks. That's all we ask. Yeah, that last tweet we put out at 53, at least market made it to 55. For anybody that traded the tweet, they caught a couple points there or thereabouts. Really? One more tick. Come on. Unbelievable. Finally. 8 ticks at 12:36:55 p.m. Pacific time. This video has been running for an hour 13 minutes. Make that an hour and 14 minutes. So we did it. All right, on the Russell we took 2 ticks because I messed up my DOM. So we had 2 ticks, which covered our commissions. And then on the S&P, the ES, we stuck it out and we got triggered in up here. We drew down to here. We ran up to here. We drew down to here. We ran up to here. We drew down to here. And then we got our 8 ticks. And we never risked more than 8 ticks on the trade. And as you recall, we were within a couple ticks of being stopped out on the trade. But I said, look, we're not going to move that stop because that's breaking the rule. And so we didn't. And we got our 8 ticks. And now I'm going to end this video. I hope to see you tomorrow in the live trading room. If you've not taken our free trial, please do. cfrn.net/apply. No credit card required. Just go to that web page, fill it out. You'll get an automated response. Go to your inbox, spam box, bulk folder, wherever stuff goes. Click the confirmation link, because unless you click the confirmation link, I won't be notified. See, once I'm notified, then I personally spring into action and go to the keyboard and I manually send you an email, old school style, where you're able to get the link for the trading room and the password and the link to download the platform and all the indicators. And if you need any help, call toll free 866-928-3310. One more time, 866-928-3310. You'll speak to Bert or Leslie. Let them know that you're part of the CFRN audience. They'll be more than happy to help you. And I do hope to see you tomorrow morning in the live trading room. Have a good evening.